Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I make scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today I am using the fabulous cut file that comes with the Sunshine Main Kit from MercyTiara Kits. That's the kit that I have right there. And you can see that I have a number of different cut files there. They all come with the main kit. But today I'm going to be working with this beautiful rainbow background cut file, and boy, is it a stunner. It is designed by the talented Nicole Nawasad, who designs all of our cut files each month. And I haven't used the cut files for a while, so I thought, boy, is it ever time? And this rainbow cut file is just begging to be used on this kit in particular. I was live streaming with my tiaras over on Patreon, so you might see a couple of comments every here and there. I'm going to start by cutting this down to 12 by 12. I just cut it on my silhouette using a piece of avalanche paper, which is white basil cardstock. It actually comes in the cardstock add-on for this kit, but you could use any kind of white cardstock, of course, or even, I think it would look really great in black or a navy blue. It would look great in any of those neutral colors. So I am starting with that, and I was pretty sure that I would have a pretty good spectrum of colors here using the B sides of these papers. Now, I do have the pattern paper add-on, so I'm not too hesitant to cut into these. The A sides are absolutely gorgeous for these papers, so I would have been hesitant to use them all up this way if I didn't have the extra pattern paper add-on. I'm also going to be using the vellum at some point in this page, and I thought a little bit about using it on one of the rainbow rays, but I've decided not to. You see, I have pink, orange, yellow, and blue, and then the green is really not the greatest example of a green tone on tone because it's mostly white with green stripes. There's actually a tiny little bit of a blue stripe in that too. But what I've decided to do, I just wanted to just check and double check and make sure that I had the rainbow color right, because I wasn't sure which one would be on the outside. And it turns out that the big outside ray is where the red is, and it works its way inwards. It doesn't really matter if I got it wrong, but I did want to make it right. So I am leaving this part in because I make a mistake and I want you to see the mistake so that you don't make the same one that I made. So I am outlining, basically I'm using my pencil to draw where all of those big outside rays are. And I'm doing it on the back side of the pink pattern paper that I'm going to be using for these large bands. And yeah, so I'm cutting those all out. And my mistake that I made is that I did not flip over my cut file when I did that. So these are actually not going to line up properly. The hearts are going to be upside down, or the little pieces are going to be inverted. And here's where I'm realizing when I put those rainbow rays into the empty holes, they're all going to be reversed. And so that would be fine if every one of these rainbows were exactly the same, but they're not exactly the same. Like some of them have more showing on the right or more on the left. It turns out that I can use one of these. This one, not the other one. I'm getting a little bit confused here because every time I turn it around, it flips, which is the way physics work. But but my visual spatial skills are not the greatest. So if you back things, you probably know this already. If you back cut files often, that you do have to flip the die cut around when you do that. So Christina is giving me an out here saying it must be because I didn't have my coffee yet, which is true. I did not have my coffee yet. So I'm just going to erase all of those pencil marks that I just made. This is the front side of my cut file because it has the texture on it. So I'm flipping it upside down. And now when I trace these, they will be facing the right direction for backing underneath of the cut file. So like I said, I was just leaving that in so that you don't make the same mistake that I made Now I'm just going to outline all of these with my pencil. Backing cut files can be a very soothing, relaxing task to do. And so if you like to do repetitive, soothing, and very, very rewarding things, this might be just the activity for you. So all of those are outlined now, and you can see how it looks there. And now I'm just going to cut each one out, starting with this bottom one here. And it fits perfectly because of the outlining. I'm just showing that I'm using my glue pens here. I do like using glue pens for cut files, for backing cut files, because you have so much control over where the glue goes with a glue pen. You do have to work a little fast because those Zig two-way glue pens, they do change from permanent into temporary adhesive if you let it dry. So you want to try to be sticking your cut file on there while it's nice and liquidy and not when it gets kind of tacky. Although it kind of doesn't matter because we're going to put all of this on a background sheet at the very, very end, which you will see. I'm not going to show my entire process here because it is very, very repetitive, but I do want to just comment that doing a repetitive task like this can be very, very relaxing. And one of the things that I love the most about backing cut files is that every time I add a little piece, I get to turn it over, and it doesn't matter how many times I've done it, it never gets old. It just is delightful to turn it around and see the pattern come together and get filled in a little bit more each time. And it's one of those things that never fails to be incredibly rewarding every single time I do it. And so I will leave some of this process in just so that you can experience some of what it's like to turn that file over and see it fill in. Every single time I'm excited. I just love it. I'll put on a little bit of music and let you watch some of this process, but I will cut out some of it as well. So I just had to do a little bit of cleanup before I went on to this step. Now, remember at the beginning where I said that the green paper that I have is not quite green enough. It's more of a white with a green line on it. So I have taken my Distress Oxides. I have two colors here. One is the Citrus Twist, and the other one is called, no, it's called Twisted Citron, and the other one is Mowed Lawn. And I'm using my Simon Says Stamp blending brush here to just spread green all over the paper. And I'm doing this quite haphazardly, and I am not really being too careful. As you can see, that it's pretty splotchy, and I'm not spending a whole lot of time doing it and making sure that it's super smooth or blended, because there's only going to be pretty thin strips of this paper on my layout. And so I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time blending it beautifully just to end up cutting it all up into pieces and you won't even see it. I just need it to be green. So that is good enough. I'm going to use a baby wipe just to get the green off of my mat so that it doesn't make a mess everywhere. But I'm going to, like I did before, whoops, I'm actually gluing this. Oh, right. It turns out one of the yellow pieces had fallen off. So I'm going to outline all of the rainbows bands here, or rays, or whatever you call them, that are going to be green. There's only two left now, so I'm down to green, and then the centers of each rainbow will be blue. So I traced all of those, and now when I cut, I don't know if I mentioned before, but when I cut, I'm cutting it a little bit bigger so that you can still see the tracing lines, because I want these to be able to basically overhang my cut file so that I have something to glue it to. So as I cut, I'm leaving a little bit of space around the outside edges of those lines. And now we'll use our glue pen and cover that in. Now, one thing that I noticed with this, see, it looks really great. I love that it is, I actually like the splotchiness of it, that it's not a solid one color of green. Now, one thing that I noticed, and here's a silly thing I'm doing, is that because it's really saturated with ink, the paper is still a little wet and the glue is not sticking. And so the silly thing I'm doing here is I'm using these strips of paper to hold it down. And then one of my viewers, one of the tiaras, was like, "You could use washi tape for that." And I was like, "Yes, totally. That is exactly a perfect use for washi tape." So I have decided to switch over to washi tape. It's just much less cumbersome than having to cut strips of scrap paper and strip them down. If you didn't have washi tape, or if you didn't want to waste your washi tape by putting it on the back, you could easily use strips, as I was doing there at the beginning. But most of us have a lot of washi. I don't know about you, but I have way more washi than I will ever use. So this is actually a really good use for washi. Also, it's not as bulky as using paper to hold these strips down. They'll stick a little bit with the glue, but they're not holding tight. And I do so much flipping. I go back and forth as I enjoy the fruits of my labor and just love watching how this cut file comes together, that I was just worried that it would start to fall off. So that's why I'm using the washi tape there. Now, once I'm finished backing all of the green pieces, I have blue left. So the centers of these rainbows will be filled in with blue. And what I've decided to do is, instead of cutting out all the little blue pieces, I decided I will just mat this whole piece of paper on the blue paper, and that will hold down all of my strips if any of them are coming off or not holding quite tight enough. I'm just running my adhesive along all of the strips, and then I'm actually going to use liquid glue along the outside edge. It just is a little bit easier for me to control where it goes on that really narrow strip, which is it's slightly more narrow than the glue gun strip is. So there we go. And I didn't mat it perfectly, but it was pretty darn close. So I'm just going to take a minute here to trim down any place where the blue sticks out around my cut file. And then after I thought about it, I realized that I didn't actually place the cut file perfect, like the paper, perfectly on my silhouette mat. So it was those white borders around the outside edges were a little bit uneven. So I just evened it out. So because I evened it out, this page is just slightly less than 12 by 12. And that's fine. It'll just float around a little bit in the page protector. I don't think you'll even notice it once it's all done. I did use some liquid glue to stick down some of the pieces of the die cut file that were sticking up a little bit. And I'm going to mat my photo. I couldn't decide which photo I was going to use, but I went with the picture of my two girls wearing their Taylor Swift cardigans. And I'm just matting that in black. I love a black and white photo for a cut file like this, for a cut file background, because the cut file is so colorful that a black and white photo just pops off the page and it doesn't distract at all from that beautiful, colorful background. And matting it in black makes it pop even more on the page. I'm going to, just speaking of popping it on the page, I'm going to use some foam adhesive to pop it up even more. It's going to cast a little bit of a gray shadow, and that's going to be very pretty. I'm going to line the photo up like this over here on the left-hand side of the photo. Now, I thought about using some gold doilies. The kit comes with 3 gold doilies and some gold enamel dots, but I don't love the look of gold with a rainbow kind of colorful look like this. I think I like the look of a plain white doily a lot better than the gold doily. So I grabbed this plain white doily. I think it's from the last kit, so this would be from the Bloom kit, but there have been doilies in several different kits. So if you've been getting the kits for a couple of months, you might have some leftover doilies from another kit that you can draw from, or maybe some in your stash. Now, I do want to use one of the wax seals from the Sunshine kit on this page, but I haven't quite decided which one yet. Now, here's something that you're gonna see me do this twice too. I am tearing off a piece of this beautiful vellum that comes in the kit. It's from Doodlebug Designs, and it's got this awesome glossy embossed raindrop pattern on it. It's so pretty. Now I'm pulling off the backings on these adhesive pieces, and I'm realizing that when I tore it, it was actually upside down. So the little torn edge, I just love a torn edge on vellum, even though when you tear with your ruler like this, it's a super subtle torn edge. But I just love it, and I wanted it to be on the right-hand side, so I did re-tear another square of this. If you get the extra pattern paper with our kits, you will have 2 full sheets of this vellum, so I wasn't too worried about tearing it up, because I love to use vellum as a very tiny, subtle layer. It just adds such beautiful texture to your page, so I knew that I would use those scraps at some point in the course of the month. So I really like how that looks. I did glue the vellum to the doily so that now those 3 things, the photo, the vellum, and the doily, they all move around as one, and I can kind of play around with my design without having to kind of keep all 3 of those things together. These are the thickers that come in I shouldn't say thickers, they are actually letter stickers. They're puffy letter stickers from Pink Fresh Studio, and they came in the kit, and I really love them. They're just a nice, clean, classic font, and I like that they come in both upper and lower case. I'm going to align this photo so that it is vertical, so that it's not wonky or offset. I'm making it be aligned pretty straight. And I'm going to spell out the word Swifty and then sweaters with these letter stickers. And these are a really dark green, but they have a bit of blue in them. So they're a beautiful bluey green. And I just adore these stickers. I love this color of blue, bluey green. I guess maybe it's a green. It's probably more green than blue. I just love it. So I'm spelling out Swifty, and as you can see, those dark letters, they don't exactly pop on the page here, but that's okay, because you know me, I'm going to be outlining these, and I'm going to outline them with white, and wait until you see how they pop off the page when I outline them. It's just unbelievable the difference that it makes. So that looks really great as it is, but just wait until you see what I'm going to do with those letters. Now, these outline hearts came in the kit, these wood veneer hearts, and I'm going to use them also. I thought that the paper clip here would be great. This paper clip is such a tiny little fancy detail that adding it to a page like this that doesn't have a whole lot going on is a really nice way to make sure that it gets some attention, as opposed to putting it on a page where there's tons and tons of embellishment and layering going on. Usually when I use a complex cut file like this as my background, or anything as a complex background, I usually like my embellishments and my actual scrapbooking to be fairly simple and not take away too much from the beauty of that background file. So I am just spreading out these letters a little bit more because I'm going to be outlining them with my Sakura Jelly Roll 10 pen. And I do have two white gel pens here. One is a Jelly Roll 8 and one is a Jelly Roll 10. I like my Jelly Roll 10 better, but sometimes I need to use the 8 to fit into small spaces. So the reason I spread out all my letters is just to make sure that that 10-point pen tip will fit in between all the edges of my letter stickers. So look at the difference right there. Like, that makes such a huge difference. The S and the W just pop up off the page. I'm not outlining in the places where these letters go up on the white paper because they don't need it. So I'm just outlining on the pink. I'm going to use some of my liquid glue here, and the liquid glue that I'm using is Art Glitter Dries Clear adhesive, and I'm just using that to stick the little dot on the eye so that it stays put. Sometimes those eyes, and also it's half on the white paper and half on the pink paper, so it's a little bit easy for it to pop off. Now I am going to, as you can see, I am painting my heart wood veneer with gesso. And I don't know what I'm doing here, but I thought I might layer two hearts together. I'm not going to. So I am painting both of them just in case. And it's becoming clear to me that trying to paint them with that giant silicone brush is just too hard. And I'm basically just finger painting them with the gesso. So my fingers are thoroughly covered in gesso, which allows me to just kind of smoosh the gesso around on that heart wood veneer. And it's getting a little bit of a spackled look, which I quite like. It adds quite an interesting texture. In fact, the final product, you can't even tell that it was a wood veneer. It's so covered and it's got like a little bit of texture to it. So I'm going to let that dry, and meanwhile, I will get back to outlining my letters. And I basically interrupted the outlining of the letters in order to paint those wood veneers so that they would be dry by the time I'm ready for them. So now that title is completely outlined, and look at how gorgeous it looks. It just pops up off the page and helps those green letter stickers look like they really belong. This has been flopping around, so I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive to glue it down in place for once and for all. And there we go. Now, this page is, believe it or not, it's almost done. Like, it's not going to have much more than what's already on there, but I am going to decorate it just a tiny bit more. So I'm having a look at the embellishments that came in the main kit and also what came in the embellishment add-on. Here's that wood veneer. It looks really beautiful just as it is, but I'm going to do even more to it, and you'll see that. I like how that looks. It fills up that space after the word sweaters, but I remembered that we have this Bow Bunny texture paste. It is called Sugar Glitter Paste, and it came in one of the mixed media kits from a while ago. It might have come in the Nostalgia mixed media kit. I can't quite remember, but it was one of the kits that came since January. And I am using the palette knife that came in the same mixed media kit. And I'm sorry that I'm zoomed in a little bit too far for you to see much of what I'm doing, but you can see some of what I'm doing. I'm basically using a little stylus there. It's actually a little poking tool to smooth out that glitter paste. And it's drying as I'm putting it on there. It dries quite quickly. It's quite a dry paste. And as you can see, it gives this a little bit of fuzziness to it almost. And at this point, I've decided I'm probably only going to use the one heart. It's still a little bit sticky, but that stuff dries super fast. I'm just going to put it up there to dry a little bit more. I know exactly where it's going to go, so I won't forget. Sometimes I do forget, but I don't think I'll forget that. I thought about using these little banner pieces here to put a little banner under the word Swifty sweaters, but I decided not to. I did not like that at all. It was too cluttered and taking away from that beautiful cut file in the background. This little chipboard piece from the Echo Park chipboards that came in the embellishment add-on says extraordinary, and I just love the color of the font. It's very similar to the color of the letter stickers. And then this other little chipboard piece, it says chase your dreams, and it's also just a beautiful color that picks up on some of the darkness of the letter stickers. I'm doing a switcheroo with my wax seal, and I'm going with the pink one. I'm just tucking it under the photo. And I'm just having a look at what else I might want to put on this page. I know I don't want to put very much, but I felt like it needed a little something else. While I think about what that might be, I'm going to do my journaling. I'm going to journal right along one of the bends of the rainbow. So it says, Liv and Soph received their Taylor Swift cardigans for the Tortured Poets Department album. So these cardigans is something that I had no idea about, but I'm just looking up the name of the album because I didn't want to get it wrong, because sometimes I get it wrong. I say the wrong thing. These cardigans, you might know about them already, but Taylor Swift puts out a cardigan for every one of her albums. And it's like this limited edition thing that they sell out super fast. So you have to be online when she happens to announce them, and then you can buy them. And what I love about these cardigans is that it doesn't scream Taylor Swift. Like they just look like nice gray cardigans. But there's a little tag on it that says the Tortured Poets Department. And so, yeah, they're like very fashionable and nice. I mean, of course, merch is usually pretty fashionable and nice, but it doesn't look like merch. So I think that that's kind of cool. There we go. I added that beautiful, sparkly white heart. And this page is almost done, but you know me, I definitely want to put a couple of little extras on this. So let's dig into the confetti mix. I'm going to put confetti in 3 different places, and just 3 pieces in each of those 3 places. So I am being very, very restrained with my confetti use, which I usually am quite restrained. I don't use it as liberally as I probably could. And I do like it when people use it liberally, but I don't know, I just always hold back. Sometimes I don't. There have been times when I've really gone to town with my confetti mixes. So I am using that same Art Glitter Designer Dries Clear glue. Let me say that again. It's Art Glitter Designer Dries Clear adhesive. Okay, 3rd time's a charm. It is Art Glitter Dries Clear Designer Adhesive. There we go. I got it. And the layout is done. Before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to all of them. Patrons get early ad-free access to all of my process videos and real-time unedited versions of my videos, as well as a weekly, these days it's a weekly live stream. It's supposed to be monthly, but I do it a little bit more these days. And they also get behind the scenes videos and a whole bunch more stuff. So check that out if you're interested in any of that. Oh my goodness, this cut file is so beautiful. Nicole did such a great job with this one. They're always beautiful every month. And now I feel like I need to go back and use some of the old cut files from some of the other kits. But I'm really curious in hearing from you. Do you use cut files very often in your scrapbooking? Do you use these pieced together background papers, or do you use cut files for other elements? I'd love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment below. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.